Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back through daily crypto news and analysis, and today we're going to be talking about Xinfin Network, aka XDC. So let's just dive in and let's talk about a few things. So first off, it's been a very long time since I've actually made a video on XDC, and there has been a lot of things happening right now around trade finance, around the ecosystem. So let's really kind of talk about what just recently happened from the 21st to the 27th. And we have a few updates here. I'm going to let the video play a little bit, and we will discuss a few things that have happened in that week. And first off, we do see XDC supported on Frontier Wallet. Frontier Wallet announced full support of the XDC network, allowing users to track and import and even create wallets, which you love to see. Wallet support is always great. Is it going to be substantial for XDC's price? No, not exactly, but it does allow for a lot more adoption. Also, Eurocoin Bridge to XDC Network, OneChain announced the development of a cross-chain bridge and brings EuroC to the XDC Network, which you love to see. A lot more bridging is key for success as well around a lot of these networks. And last but not least, XDC Video Series announced a new series documenting developments on the XDC network has been started. It aims to showcase XDC advancements in engineering, research, and more. I believe that is the last one. So yep. Now again, is it a substantial amount of updates? Not necessarily. But it does allow for a lot more ease of not only sending and receiving and even tracking, as well as connecting and creating wallets within the XDC network, which you love to see. But also, we have seen a lot more bridges being built. We've also seen a lot more development happening within the Xinfin ecosystem as well, which everyone should be happy about. Also, just remember that XDC themselves is still working with DC United, which they are a very large team. They have 175.3k followers, and we do see over here XDC Foundation is proud to work with DC United to bring United perks to the fans, elevate your experience with seed upgrades, sweepstakes, and even more. And this is all powered by XDC Network, which again, this should be celebrated because it not only shows you the real utility behind XDC, but also provides you a little bit of an insight on how many individuals will be exposed to what XDC actually is and the network, which I think is awesome. And we've actually been seeing a lot of tokens being introduced within the sports area. We've talked about this a lot with like crypto.com, and then since then we've seen like VeChain. There's been a lot of other players as well. And I think that this is only the beginning. I think that we're going to see a lot more exposure to crypto within a lot of areas, specifically within the sports area as well, just because it is probably one of the easiest areas to get into in regards to marketability. So you love to see that. But also, recently, just 2 days ago now, Onto Wallet, which is a Web3 gateway, and they have over 193.7k followers. This is a very, very large Web3 gateway, and you actually do see that they are a DID-based Web3 gateway for 1 million plus users on 30 plus popular blockchains supporting 700 plus Dapps. So a lot of exposure here, and we do see Onto is excited to integrate Xinfin official and enterprise-ready open-source hybrid blockchain protocol specializing in tokenization for real-world DeFi. Users can now easily manage their assets on XDC network in Onto. I think that this is awesome. Again, a lot more exposure for XDC, and things have been heating up. I would argue that there's been a lot of announcements in the last couple months around Xinfin as well as XDC. So very exciting. Very happy about this as well, because all of this is more and more, exposure to XDC as a token, but also the network itself too. And also talking about Frontier, Frontier is not only providing a home for all of the Dapps on Xinfin, but we do see many exciting and groundbreaking Dapps call Xinfin officials XDC network home. You can now experience the ecosystem using Frontier Wallet's native wallet support. Here are some of the leading Dapps on XDC. And yes, a lot of these are great Dapps. A lot of them are doing some very very big things as well. And the main ones that I have been focused on is like Comtech Gold, Impul, also Plugin, and XSwap. XSwap, I'm still holding my bag. It is down quite a bit, but I have been averaging in here and there because I do think that XSwap is going to be pretty large. I don't have a very substantial amount in it, and it is a very high risk investment simply because, again, it's not like being fully adopted in. or list it on major exchanges or anything like that. But I still believe that it will be a successful token going forward, probably like Telcoin as well. It's a very low cap gem. But a lot of these are great. I think that when we really kind of look at the ecosystem, it is something special, and they do talk about, Comtech Gold. I think that tokenization around gold is something special, and they do even mention a few things around like Cycle, Law Blocks, as well as eCoin, Plugin. Plugin is like one of the biggest ones right now, as they have been doing a lot of things within healthcare. We've been talking about a few of these, and I think that it is substantial to mention the fact that a lot of these have really kind of started to make a lot of noise just recently. So it's very exciting to see the ecosystem continuing to build out on Xinfin. I'm very excited to see a lot more names being added onto the ecosystem as well. And yeah, with that in mind, let's move on to trade finance. So, TradeTech, the giant behind Xinfin. We do see writing in City AM, TradeTech CFO Nils Beiling discusses how advancements in the digital tokenization of trade assets are creating new opportunities for investors. Read more on how tokenization is lowering the barriers to trade finance. And yep, that's right. Tokenization is not only gold, it is much, much more. Art, gold, real estate, everything will be essentially tokenized. And we do see over here how digital assets are democratizing global trade and boosting economic growth. And a few things I do want to mention to you guys is we're going to talk about the supply and demand, barriers to investment, and then kind of move on to a few things around Xinfin specifically. So first, supply and demand. The overall gap here, the global gap, stands at about $1.7 trillion. This is not, the overall amount of the global trade finance market itself, but just the gap that Xinfin is essentially filling. And we do see down here, they talk about the overall cost, the ROI demands as well. Like, this is a big problem. Regulation demands that banks put aside more capital for trade finance deals. At the same time, banks are forced to do more with less. As a result, banks focus on their top tier clients, leaving many businesses, mostly SMEs, under or even unserved. Without a solution, the trade finance gap will continue to expand, and the World Economic Forum actually expects it to increase to as much $2.5 trillion by 2025. A lot of barriers to investment here. Regulations. We also see a few other things. Banks are increasingly recognizing that distributing trade finance assets to capital markets means they can free up their balance sheets and potentially create additional lending capacity and revenues. For investors, this is a sizable opportunity. Trade finance is a multi-trillion-dollar asset class that has many of the features that private debt investors may look for. And by the way, I just want to say, I do think that the term trillion gets thrown around a lot in this market loosely. I am one as well that does utilize the trillion term quite a bit, but it's not to have a buzzword or anything like that in the title. I mean, obviously, with YouTube, if I didn't do any sort of clickbait, if you will, in quotation marks, then, nobody would really be watching my videos. I know that a lot of people don't like clickbait. I don't do it to get a ton of clicks. I do it just to kind of compete with other individuals, because there's a lot of content uploaded on YouTube that is just not, how should I put it, educational to the extent of really kind of teaching you what is happening around this market. A lot of it is just hyped up content. I'm here to actually provide you guys substantial information, and sure, do I clickbait here and there? 100%. I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. But again, I do think that the term trillion gets thrown around quite a bit, and I think that people kind of overlook how much money just $1 trillion by itself actually is. It's a very substantial amount of money. So when we look at this is a very large opportunity, but also disrupting this market at its core is also a very large innovation. We do see down here that these typically short-term revolving and self-liquidating assets potentially offer better spreads and shorter duration than comparable fixed income products. Short duration means that unlike corporate bonds, trade finance assets generally do not lose value because of rising interest rates. Yields on new trade finance instruments tend to rise in a sustained inflation environment, giving some protection to investors. And as they are based on the tangible flow of physical goods, trade finance obligations are less susceptible to financial market volatility. And down here we do see trade finance. So However, the typically low risk, low yield nature of trade finance assets combined with their high turnover volumes makes these instruments especially susceptible to friction cost. In addition, as a result of historical practices and conventions, trade finance can be somewhat arcane in nature. So it is a very, very expensive market. When we really kind of look at tokenization, it is changing the entire game around a lot of these major industries. We do see the use of DLT, Xinfin, tokenization for delivery and settlement of trade finance investments promises to introduce major changes, opening up the asset class to a wider investment or investor base. These tokenized assets repackage and distribute trade finance into regulated security tokens using blockchain technology. While traditionally trade finance investments required significant minimum commitments from alternative investment or investors, the nature of digital assets makes it possible to offer much lower minimum investments at a fraction of current cost. This is why we look at DLT. This is why we look at digital assets. Through the purchase of security tokens that are backed by trade finance assets, again, trade a token, investors can access trade finance in a transparent, cost-efficient manner and with flexible minimum investments. This brings diversification opportunities to portfolios that were previously only available to much larger players. This is why we focus on Xinfin. They're mentioning those security tokens that are backed by trade finance, aka trade a token. This is why that was a big announcement. A lot of people actually thought that it was FUD. They thought it was bad for XDC. It's laughable. It just means that people are not educated on the idea of XDC and what Xinfin is actually providing for trade finance. XDC is a liquidity token. It is a token that is providing quite a bit of substantial utility to many of these industries. It's not only trade finance either, it's focused on many other areas too, but trade finance is one of the biggest opportunities for XDC as a token. I do believe that going forward, XDC is going to surprise a lot of people. I think that it is going to take this market by storm, and I do think that people are going to be very, very shocked when they do realize how large of an opportunity it was to get into XDC at some of the prices that we have seen recently. I have been DCAing into XDC just simply because I understand the value proposition behind it. It is similar to XRP and even XLM. I think that if XDC could possibly pull an XRP run for like 2017, 2018, it is going to be one of those tokens that really gets that FOMO type of action where we are seeing $6 billion flowing into it in daily volume, which would be substantial. But that's not what I really kind of care about with XDC. More so, I'm focused on tokenization. Like, I'm still fairly young, okay? So I do have time in this market. Like, I have a lot of time that I could spend just kind of hodling these assets until I do see their value proposition, being realized. Does that mean that I'm not going to take, profits or anything like that? Absolutely not. But to me, it makes more sense to put trust behind a lot of these major projects that have been here, that have been building and proving themselves. XDC to me is one of those tokens that I feel comfortable holding long term until the value proposition is actually realized. Is it still a major risk? 100%. This entire market is. This market is all speculative. But what is not speculative is the innovation that it does provide in regards to tokenization, in regards to, even cross-border payments, things like that. Like, there's so much to really kind of go in depth on with crypto because there's just so much that a lot of individuals are kind of, I would say, it's funny, right? Because you could kind of talk about tokenization and all people bring up is NFTs. And I just think that ultimately, it's the idea of a lot of individuals just kind of being, shown the wrong type of content, the wrong type of information. To me, tokenization is much, much larger than just, NFTs within art. NFTs are so much bigger than that, and we've actually seen this come to life recently with a lot of the trade finance area around NFTs. We look at NFTs within, real estate. I really do think that this market is something special, and I think that going forward on in time, I think that the future around this market is also very special. You just got to be careful, with the content that you personally are digesting within this market, because there's a lot of hype content out there that will try to get you into the door and not provide any sort of information. And see that's the thing that I personally always think about whenever I make a video. Like, sure, A lot of like the titles and stuff like that could be, deemed clickbait. But you guys have to understand that YouTube is a very competitive market. Your videos will not be shown to anyone unless you do, kind of, stoop down to their level and do the, clickbait. Um, Am I proud of it? No. I hate that, YouTube is like this. This is why I actually look at decentralized platforms within crypto, building out platforms similar to YouTube. I think that that is going to be very beneficial. But the reason why I say this is because like there's so much information to go over within the XDC. We have been seeing a lot of updates, we've been seeing a lot of developments, but also trade finance is probably one of the biggest opportunities for XDC and Xinfin, simply because of the cost and the adoption cycle around it. There's a lot of money to be really kind of made here if you can have disruptive, innovations within the sector. And Xinfin already does have that. There's a lot of private money that flows through, trade finance. And this is what Xinfin is actually going after, which I personally think is incredible. And I think that anybody that does hold XDC, I think all of you, if you do have a little bit of free time in a day, and it's okay if you don't, but if you do have a little bit of free time in a day, make sure that you are studying trade finance. Make sure that you are looking into the ITFA, ICC, all of these major players around trade finance, because all of them are directly connected to Xinfin. And I think that those are going to be the biggest breadcrumbs that you find around XDC. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on if you guys want more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As always, up to you all. Have a beautiful day, beautiful night, wherever you guys are on this beautiful world. It's been Nick. Peace out, guys.